Welcome to Tiger Talk Wrestling. This is your host, Tony. And today, I was supposed to have my co-host Martini Charles III here with me, but he was unable to make it. However, my guest today is the first person I've had on from UWE. He is Lips. The Freak Show.
Hello, darling. Such an honor.
Well, thank you for being on the show. Appreciate it.
So let me guess, dearie. You're gonna tell my tale, review the highlights of my fabulous career? Fine. Don't play with your balls. Sorry, play ball. I get a little mixed up. Happens from time to time.
Not a problem. But I do want to get started with what are your BYW origins? What got you interested in backyard wrestling?
That's a good question. Everybody wants to know the origin of how Lips truly began. Well, you see, I didn't exactly grow up from a happy household. I was, rejected by some sort. But I have a surprise. As far as the origin of the Freak Show and how Lips was born, I plan on giving exclusive audio tapes in the near future, just to give a little bit of promising, because after all, the end of the Freak Show could very well transpire. So the beginning of how it all happened, how Lips was born, shall be revealed soon enough. But backyard wrestling, now that's a good question, because after all, in this line of work, like I said before, it's an opportunity for the damned.
Sure.
You get, a guy like me, you don't really see at a 7-Eleven, giving out Slurpees. So, you don't really see me working a bank. You don't see me exactly running a major company. I had to become a performer. After all, I have the face of one. And I was sitting I was walking around, and I happened to see a flyer that said, "Tryouts. Do you want to be an underground superstar? Please sign up." I was intrigued, and the idea of just in physical combat with other man, the dramatic story within, the ultimate hatred that turns out to be respect, I knew that it was my calling.
Interesting. Beginnings there. I want to jump into what was pretty much your feud in WWE. You had a feud with Insanity.
Oh, yes. Timmy! How could I forget old Timmy? What about him?
You've seen that led to a match between the two of you at Ultimate Redemption 2014. What would you say about that match?
Ultimate Redemption, the very first showcase of Ultimate Redemption, which I would turn into the Freak Show, the Ultimate Freak Show. And after all, the Freak Show is really just a circus act. And you know what my favorite act was in the circus? The Lion Tamer. To watch a rabid beast who could easily rip the heads off of the audience be controlled by a man in a black top hat. And there was nobody that was more intimidating, more unstable than old Timothy had. And I realized that if I wanted to show that I was the ultimate mastermind of the mind game, in order to gain the attention of all my colleagues, including the UWE fans, of course, if I could tame Insanity, then anything was possible. Of course, that's a lot easier said than done. As you've seen, Insanity really showed me quite a battle and really made me into what I am today. Insanity showed that if you can really get the better of me, who really wins in the equation? You milked me for all I'm worth. You wanted the truth, dearie.
Yeah, that's true.
You don't want to hide from Lips.
say that you guys did put on one very good match there at Ultimate Redemption. It wasn't Sandy, and you mentioned pick up the win in that match. So.
Nah. Well, I can assure you, Insanity was an unstable individual, and even some lions out in the forest can't be tamed. They're just meant to be wild. And, well, although Insanity and I put on quite the act, one that I can say was truly my first chapter in the underground. And if I could change anything, well, I don't think I would. I learned my lesson.
Gotcha. So then actually we see that, remember correctly, later that night that you kidnapped Cameron Jackson. Or turned out that you did it.
That was actually at the end of Thunderstruck. I was dealing with my... indeed. I was dealing with my losses at Ultimate Redemption against Insanity, healing wounds, realizing how I was going to make an epic return to the underground. And then I realized the perfect opportunity was right in front of me. The fastest rising star in backyard wrestling! The CJE. So, of course, I realized that I was going to take BYW's greatest hero and bring him down to my level, to my lair. As you've seen, this is my humble home, and Cameron Jackson was the guest of honor.
He was the guest of honor for quite a while. Leading into a match that you two would have at sorry.
Hell's Vacancy? Not a problem.
Hell's Vacancy, actually.
Hell's Vacancy. Wow. I remember sitting in this very chair and looking into his eyes and seeing his mouth covered in duct tape and his hands tied behind his back in a rocking chair. And for the longest time, nobody knew what really happened. You know what? I think it's better off it stays that way. After all, I charge for the juicy bits. But I will say this. Cameron Jackson learned who Lips truly was. But I also dug into the mind of the CJE. And I would tell you what I've learned, but, well, code of honor. Honestly, what happens in the lair stays in the lair. It's the first rule.
Alright. I will say about that match, it was quite an interesting match. At the end of it, we did see Cam a kiss towards the end of it that seemed to wake up Cameron Jackson, a certain side of him anyways.
Yeah, no, that definitely tickled the beast. Yeah, no, we definitely waged war. What I was really interested in was, it was actually a really good wrestling match. I mean, did you remember, if you go back and watch the beginning of that match, there was a lot of technical prowess that you don't normally see with the likes of us.
Sure.
But even the characterization of the CJE in the Freak Show couldn't be held to just mere technical prowess, of course. Cameron Jackson Entertainment versus the provocative Prince of Horror, no, you were going to get an Oscar-worthy performance. And that is exactly what I gave to the CJE. I overwhelmed him physically and mentally. But I became bored. I laid him out with Little Death, and then I decided to give him a little bit of mouth-to-mouth. And you know what happens then? He wakes up. He didn't like it too much. I think I remember the feeling of being tied up and him giving me the black toad splash while I was bondage tied. Man, good times.
That he wouldn't really stop there. He could do a little further damage after the match as well.
Yeah, a little over the top, if you ask me. I mean, he didn't really need to crush my throat with a windpipe, but he did not really need to crush my windpipe with a lead pipe. Not really exactly sportsmanship, if you ask me. But I gotta admit, I did like him playing dirty with me. Oh, Cam, best of luck in VTW and all your future endeavors. And remember, I'm just one love letter away.
All right. So we'll move on from there to what was your first crossover event, I do believe, at Best in the Yard, one 2 years ago.
Yeah.
You had put out videos leading into that invites to certain monsters to come and join you in the ring at Best in the Yard.
The Freaks Night Ball.
Yes, sir.
I remember, and like I said, not so nice that Cameron Jackson would crush my throat with a lead pipe. And it led me incapacitated for months and months and months. I just couldn't get my hands on anybody. And it really just dug up inside. And I knew if I had to come back, it had to be something special. After all, when you see celebrities disappear from Hollywood for months and months, they usually come back bigger and better than ever. And Lips is no different. So I decided to send an invitation to all of those that wanted to seize the opportunity of the damned. I felt insulted by Best in the Yard, because Best in the Yard wasn't showcasing the likes of me. How do you want to have the greatest backyard wrestling extravaganza without the most unique persona to ever grace backyard wrestling? So, I decided that I was going to invite those that also weren't invited. The characters that you would just deem to be secondary, and I wanted to kill that term because we are so much more. And as you've learned, would you not agree?
I would agree. Much to agree.
However, I wanted the very best, and that's why I created the Freaks Night Bowl to begin with, because you have the likes of Mephisto and Adnan and Silencio and Joe Cool, and then finally Anonymous. I mean, do you remember what Anonymous did in backyard wrestling?
He did a lot of things in backyard wrestling, including UWE. Came close to winning the UWE world title at one point.
So close. But the fact is, Anonymous became a trend, and he started targeting those in backyard wrestling. He wanted to deem them guilty. And the fact was, Anonymous was the one I hoped would deem successful in the end, and he was. And then we saw Anonymous versus Lips at Best in the Yard. Two of the most extraordinary characters doing battle. Oh yes, I remember it like it was yesterday. And then, as we would fight, he would soon be distracted, which was the perfect opportunity for me to give him a kiss on that Guy Fawkes mask and lay him out. 1, 2, 3, lights out.
You did.
Oh, such fun.
Yeah, I would say at that point it was probably the biggest win of your career in backyard.
Oh, well, thank you. A win at Best in the Yard can do numbers.
Yeah, I would agree. Win at best in the yard does wonders for anybody's career.
Yes, indeed. Best in the Yard is quite the event. And I will say that the Freaks Night Ball was a change to my career. After all, it was the first time, like you said, being away from the underground and seeing what other territories would be like and how they would treat me. Right. And they were even more surprised by the face that they would soon fear. The face of love and lust and evil seduction combined into one.
Okay. And then from Best in the Yard, we'd actually see a video or two of the Man in Red.
Yeah.
Leading to you traveling to APW.
Oh yes, what fun. I believe you're talking about Jason Walker.
I'm getting there, yes. What exactly brought about videos of the Man in Red? Brought out your.
I remember as I was making my appearance into the underground, a certain clip would reach upon and really all of a sudden cause such commotion. This master of the mind game, Jason Walker, would send a message to his rival, at the time being Drew Hood, incinerating a picture of his girlfriend. And I thought to myself, how sick, how demented, how twisted. And they call me the Freak Show. I have nothing on him. But the best part about it is, after all he's done, and after all the mind games he's played, he sees the man in red, and he becomes doomed. I realized that if anybody was going to get inside the head of Jason Walker, it was going to be me. And did I not? I appeared on his television screen, for crying out loud! I mean, come on! He tried to show that I was an imposter, but after the man in red would soon fade away, he realized the truth. I was the man in red.
Alright.
And what a match that was. Oh, what a dance.
At Retro Invasion 2016, I would agree. I was watching that match last night, actually.
Oh, what'd you think?
Very good match between the two of
Thank
you. It took everything out of both your arsenal for Jason to actually pick up the win at the end of that match.
I don't just lay down for anybody, Tony. The fact is that you gotta milk me for all I'm worth, and then you gotta have the utmost adrenaline, and you have to just absolutely go balls to the wall. You want to defeat Lips, you gotta give it your all, and you gotta drain my energy, and you gotta use me like the whore I am. And then in the end, who really wins? I got my fun now, didn't I?
True.
Wins and losses mean nothing. I just, in the end, I just want to have the moment.
Yeah.
Oh, let me explain to you something, and tell me if you disagree.
Sure.
All wrestling really is a dance, from start to finish. And then in the end, somebody gets their hand raised as the winner, and the other walks off as the loser.
Correct.
But the dance still takes on now, doesn't it? Does it really matter about a winner or a loser? You remember the dance.
True.
I thought you would see it my way. Smart boy.
Sure. Yes, it was a very good match between you and Jason Walker there. I agree.
Jason Walker is a tenacious competitor. He really showed me the kind of woman I can be, and I will say this to you. That is the match that should have been the main event in my eyes.
Yeah.
After all, everybody talking about the man in red, Walker versus Lips. What a dream that was going to become. A dream that became reality because I was the one that dug deep inside the mind of the man who says, it's all me. In the end, it's only me. It's all me. It's all Jason Walker. And I gave him the battle that he will never, ever forget. And it was so fun. So enlightening to see two dark personas do battle. Really much of a turn on.
Okay. So from there we would actually see videos leading into a match at WrestleCon last year that you would have against Joe Cool. What do you have to say about lead into that match? All those videos that were posted.
Now that it's all said and done,
Yeah.
I have to give it to Joe. He's the only one that ever got in my head. I thought for a second that he found out my story, and I said, my God, that's impossible. How could that possibly be? Did the doctor go back on his word? Impossible. But then I realized that he was involved in my story all to begin with. His prejudice towards me. It was my undoing. And how funny would it be that Joe Cool was the man responsible for the freak show you see today? And I realized I had to do something deep down and personal, not his lips, but that was the only time I had to ever be Lucius Isaac Preston Smith in the ring. And I had to teach Joe Cool a lesson not to bring my family, my sister, into this. Forget family. Family is meaningless to me. It was my sister. You don't bring Zelina into this.
Which we see he very much so in that feud, and even at Wrestle kind of the show with the little wedding that he thought he was going to have at the beginning of it. Little did he know that it was you actually underneath the veil. And quite the ass kicking pretty much he gave him at the beginning of the show.
Did he not deserve it?
He did.
Let me ask you something. Do you have any relatives?
I do.
Siblings?
I do.
Do you have a brother or a sister?
I have a sister.
You have a sister?
Yes, sir.
Let me ask you something. How close are you with your sister?
Very.
Almost like you shared a childhood together. An undescribable bond that nobody else would ever comprehend except you and your sister.
Correct.
It's almost as if she gave you confidence and made you the person you are today.
Yes.
Now, how would you feel if you saw Joe Cool taking a picture of your sister and masturbating to it on public display?
I'd want to do the same thing to his ass.
Exactly.
And do everything I could to get my hands on him.
And in the end, I kissed him. Not because I just wanted to, not because it felt good, not because it's just what I do. No. As a matter of fact, kissing him was absolutely disgusting. The reason why I did it was to show that Joe Cool didn't kill lips. Nobody can.
Fair enough. There might be somebody that would disagree with that statement that we'll get into later, but we'll see about that.
Indeed.
From there, the next big feud you had in UWE was with Daisy. What would you have to say about that Daisy? And what do you have to say about Daisy in general?
I have no beef with Daisy is the funniest thing. I mean, about it. I've never had an issue with Daisy. Daisy was envious. Daisy was jealous. Because Daisy was a larger-than-life persona that was treated as second place. You see, Daisy is an incredible performer, one like no other. But yet, despite all of Daisy's accomplishments, Daisy just couldn't do it like I could. And so therefore, Daisy wasn't displayed on LED boards or UWE posters or tweets. Daisy wasn't as promoted as the freak show was, and it turned Daisy's purple skin green.
It did.
And all of a sudden, Daisy would try to make a name for himself at my expense. His final farewell to finally right that last wrong against me. Because in the end, the only person that was holding Daisy back in his mind was me. So if he defeated me, he would try to show to the world that he was better than I was. But what Daisy fails to realize is that I'm a superstar. My future was so bright I had to wear shades. The fact is, when it comes to the persona, and when it comes to characteristics and dynamics, Daisy just wasn't on my level. But in ring skill, Daisy was much more. I will give Daisy that. And this was the match everybody wanted to see for so long, and to be honest, I did too.
Yes.
We burst, indeed. We bursted on the same time. We bursted on the scene at the same time, and everybody wanted to see Daisy versus Lips, the fearful phenom versus the freak show.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. I would agree with that. We did see.
And what did you think of the performance?
Amazing performance in that last man standing match. And there's not a whole lot to really say about it. Honestly, it was kept me speechless pretty much in some aspects. You guys put on quite the performance. Quite a wrestling match out there, even though it was a last man standing, but still.
Thank you. Of course, wrestling wasn't really our first take on it. It was two amazing characters doing battle, and I have absolutely utmost respect for Daisy. Daisy is an unbelievable performer, and I must say that he was another one that really rattled me for all I was worth. And it took two, not one, but two pink eyes to lay me out for a count of 10. And in the end, he earned my respect, and I got kicked for it.
Yes, I was just going to ask you about that. What did you think of Sherwood ripping up those papers and another pink eye there at the end of the show?
Daisy's way of saying, I got your number, and I'm number one now. But really, was he number one after that? I don't think so. What did he do after defeating me at Hell's Vacancy? Nothing. He went on to All Out Survival and lost against every creed. And then had a mediocre match with Insanity at Ultimate Redemption, one that pales in comparison to mine against Insanity. And then Daisy fades away. Meanwhile, I, on the other hand, am just bigger and better than ever. But nonetheless, what Daisy had was remarkable. He is a phenomenal character. And if I were to ever have a rematch against Daisy, I would be honored. And that reminds me, there's one more person, and I almost forgot. Cameron Jackson. No coincidence, I must say. Going back to Hell's Vacancy, I really wanted another dance with the God self-declared. Because if Cameron Jackson's God, what does that make me? Do you know?
I would say it would make you the devil.
I guess. So, let me ask you something. If God and the devil do battle in backyard wrestling, would you want to watch it?
Yeah. Who wouldn't?
Oh, Cameron Jackson. You just left us just a little too early. And with Endgame approaching, it's a shame. Because after I bury the hatchet with another individual, I would have loved to have one last dance with you. Unfortunately, you left. But don't worry, we'll meet again, my dear. Sorry, dearie. Just a personal message I had to say real quick. But going back to Hell's Vacancy is my show. It's my ultimate redemption. It's my main event. And if you're going to face me at Hell's Vacancy, you need to realize that you need to give it all. You need to give everything you've got.
I would agree. That's the way it has lifted both of the two Hell's Vacancies we mentioned here. So.
Indeed. Very entertaining, I must say. A lot of fun.
Agreed. From there, I want to dive into Fast in the Yard 2. We saw videos lead to a coffin match that you had, Diablo. What is your take on those videos that you see leading into the match?
The son of Satan. Remember what I just told you about how Cameron Jackson's God, what am I? Well, if Diablo is the son of Satan, Well, I guess that just makes me mommy now, doesn't it? After all, we never said that Satan was a man. And as you can see, Satan is very, very much a woman. And the worst part about it is, Satan can be quite seductive and quite persuasive. But also, the devil can be nurturing, like a mother. Diablo wasn't loved in VTW. In fact, he was despised, and I wanted to show him that mommy was here for him. Take my hand. But did Diablo listen, Tony? No.
Nope.
Diablo, in fact, flipped out about it. Challenged me to a coffin match. And I accepted. Because, in fact, all I wanted to do was just lay with him for eternity. My child, my dear precious child. Don't you want to come with me? Don't you want to feel my bones on your bones? It's only natural, Tony. It's only natural. But things wouldn't go as planned. Going off on a oh boy. Alright. I'm just going to go off on a shoot with you, dearie. So, we're in the match. We're in the middle of the match. And, things are going quite well. Right. And, I'm getting the offense on him, and I'm about to set him up for the little death. It was right before he sets up and he counters it into the spear. And I tell him of how it's going to be his demise. And I told him how I was going to put him to rest. Apparently I didn't need to, because he was already snoring. I kid you not. This guy actually fell asleep in the middle of the match. And I'm thinking, yeah, I can't believe it. Like, I was offended at first, but then I just thought, it's going to be funny later on. But, yeah, no, I was laughing to knew it was his end, but I didn't know that, I didn't know it was going to put him to sleep. I'm thinking, did I lose control of the gas that I used on Cam? I'm like, what the hell happened? He was out cold. I had to pick him up. Not easy. He's a big boy. Yes. And nonetheless, it was a fun match. It really was, and I wouldn't have changed a thing. He is very underrated, and I definitely knew that we could put on a show, and if, Best in the Yard, once again, it is the biggest event of them all, so to have an opportunity to compete on that show is just, it goes to show that it is truly the showcase of Immortals, and I wanted to be the showcase of the Freak Show, and it was. And a coffin match was something I really was anticipating throughout my entire career, and I really wanted to have one, and I must say I was honored. Even though I was the one that ended up in the box. Right.
I will say, at least for you, at the two Best in the Yards that performed, you had something different at each show. Not something everybody can say, because you were part of the Monsters Ball match, and then you were part of the coffin match. Nobody else can say they were part of both of those, at least, both shows.
The Freaks Night Bowl was a little bit different, because it was poly-centered. It was a lot of other superstars that were really trying to make a name for themselves in the Freaks Night Bowl, where the coffin match was strictly one-on-one. Right. I really enjoyed both performances. It's a shame that the commentary couldn't make its way through to the production, but nonetheless, the storytelling really was good enough. Diablo is very, very, very unique, and I must say that it would be interesting to see if the Freak Show and the Son of Satan would do battle once again.
Oh yeah, I can see that happening possibly.
Only this time I don't want Insanity to give me a little surprise.
Right.
Yeah, he just showed up. I'm like, I've opened this thing more than once. It was empty. And we haven't seen Insanity in months, and all of a sudden he comes out with what point? With what purpose? What did I ever do to him?
At that point, not really anything. So.
Nothing!
Right. So what sense did that make?
Nothing at all.
But anyway, I'll give you that. It was a very good match you put on.
Thank you.
Awesome. So from there, I actually want to go. We're going to move ahead a little bit towards the end of 2016. You would appear on BTW programming again with a certain big time Mike leading into.
Oh yes! Oh dear! What a surprise!
Oh yeah.
Oh man, that I cannot tell. I've had a lot of fun throughout my career, but that is on top of the list. Oh my goodness! I mean, you talk about big time Mike, and as I call him, Mr. Big. Man, who would have thought the penultimate of his career was me? Unbelievable. And it really began to sink into big time Mike in the end. But nevertheless, I realized that, time's ticking. And since I'm here, and since Mike is really not doing much, I saw what he did to Kevin Shaw. And I was thinking to myself, wow, I would really want him to do that to me. Big time Mike was synonymously known for doing severe damage to his opponents. I mean, you've watched what happened to Rick Rios at WrestleCon. Yeah. And you would watch what happens to Dirty DeChico and Drew Hood at Best in the Yard.
You're right.
And everybody else was just afraid to get in the ring with Big Time Mike. And I said to myself, I want it. I want him to drop that elbow and throw that suplex and lock in the BTA and make me scream his name. Big Time Baby. It's really exciting. And I really wanted it. So, if I really wanted it, I took it. And I gotta say, getting inside his head was so much fun. I mean, and it's a shame they had such a nice cake. I had to end that celebration real quick, and singing my little dance, and then Mike would hit me in the head with a clipboard. I will say, when I said you're gonna be my bitch, oh man, I saw him charging, and that was he's playing Bama high school football, so you see that guy coming at you, most people, you're gonna run. And I was on my ass. I was like, I ain't going nowhere, so I'm taking this hit and I'm taking it hard.
Right.
Oh man, you see Mike coming at you like that. That's definitely an adrenaline rush. So I was really, oh man, taking the hits from him. How fun indeed. And then the shirt. Did you see what I did to his shirt?
I did.
Oh man, talk about marking your territory. And I believe one of the most fun, I think my favorite part about it all was I happened to get his phone number.
Right.
And did you happen to check? Did you happen to see the voice messages that I would give on to him?
I did see those.
What'd you think?
Creepy.
I'm offended. I mean, I just, but it was fun, and it seemed to really draw a lot of attention and a lot of laughs, and I must say, I was really thinking outside the box for that one, and I could have did a little speech in the lair, and I could have, ooh, Lips is going to come to get you, and I'm like, you know what, I'm going to call him, I'm going to leave him some voicemails, and it was a lot of fun. And then the match, oh my god, I was... Ow! I left a scar, actually, right here. Hard to see on the camera, but Big Time Mike would give me a suplex through the table. The Big Time suplex through the table. The wood would cut into my flesh. So it's good to know that I have a permanent memory from the match itself. I would definitely put versus Big Time Mike in my top 5. And that was honestly a match that I cherished very much with me because to pull the curtain back a little bit, just a little bit, that was something we both wanted to do. And he is an incredible performer. Actually, how much time do you have left on this? Because I was thinking to give you guys a little bit of a special. Like if you want after this, I can give you a little bit of a sneak peek behind the scenes, like personal interpretation. I guess as they call it, breaking kayfabe on my personal thoughts and my opponents of the matches as well. So, but nevertheless, Big Time Mike was a lot of fun, and I realized that the damage he was giving me, the only way I could possibly beat him was laughing maniacally as I tapped out to the BTA, because that really got in his head. And he was so confused. Did you? Oh my goodness! He was so confused. And to see the startling look on his face, oh, amazing. And he's like, "I'm not gay," oh my god. You got Yankee in the crowd, like, you kissed him.
Right.
So much fun. I'll pull it back a little bit though for a couple of the matches that we talked about. Insanity was honestly a lot of fun at Ultimate Redemption. That was, to me, like, me and Insanity are the two people within, if you want to say. We never really had a match at Ultimate Redemption quite yet on YouTube, so we thought we just wanted to have some fun and honestly to play the characters we do, and there was a lot of spots that just had me laughing in the middle of the match. You do like a little bounce and a splash, and I'm just hysterical. Insanity is one of my favorite characters. Me and Cam was just so much fun, but it was competition because Cameron Jackson is, he's Cameron Jackson. He's the High Kahuna. He's the CJEH and IC. He's God. And I'm the Freak Show. We were, in 2014, the two most popular characters in the UWE. So, this was before really Rise of Rios and Dirty the Chico and all them names. So Cameron Jackson and Litz were the two most unique and the two most popular superstars in backyard wrestling. Right. So, with that being told, we knew that it was going to be a showdown, and it was going to be one to remember. We definitely enjoyed the match, and we had ideas of what we were going to do, and I must say it was a lot of fun in the end. To look back and especially when it's the winter, and everybody else is kind of like not sure about what they're going to do because it's the winter and it's too cold to wrestle, and Cam and I was like, we're going to do this, and if we're not going to have lockdowns, I'll just show them what I'll do to them in the lair, and it turned out to be one of the biggest builds that we've ever done, and it was it was honestly my first creative outlet for my persona. So I must say that it was a lot of fun. Jason Walker, he is a very devoted performer, always gives it all in storytelling. So I knew automatically, this is the guy that I need to work with. And I wanted to have my first match with him at Best in New York 1. But unfortunately, he couldn't attend. But nevertheless, he couldn't attend. But Retro Invasion was the perfect place. And when we had our match, it was certainly everything that we expected and more. To be able to, do the things that we've done, the Origins DDT reversed into the Tombstone belly to belly mat slam, and then the Little Death, and then the Origins DDT and the laughs and the facial features, and then he would come out as the Terminator, the emotionless one. He had to turn off his emotions in order to face the Freak Show. It was really strategic on his part. You mentioned Joe Cool. That to me was the ultimate. Joe Cool was the most hated villain at the time in backyard wrestling, and I told him, I want to wrestle you. We're the two most popular double characters right now in backyard wrestling. Like, we are the elite. Right now what you're doing in VTW and what I'm doing in the UWE, this is the match to create. But we needed something very personal to up the ante. And that's when we decided to throw in the Zelina angle, and it got so much attention and so much heat. And especially what Joe was doing, I couldn't have asked for a better opponent. Right. I was very, very happy about that, and I think WrestleCon was, as far as the build, we were the biggest, and that's another one I feel was worthy of a main event. The only thing is that there were so many amazing other matches on the show, so much fun. So many, clinics, so many 5-star matches. You had Cameron Jackson and Jason Walker. You had Big Time Mike and Rick Rios, TJ and Zach. Yep. Dirty DeChico, Thomas Gray, and Drew Hood. So many incredible performances.
Corey Graves.
Cage and Corey, Evercreek, Shavardicus Jackson. Yeah. So there was it was really a slobber knocker of an event, and honestly, it could be up there with Best in the Yard too. In my opinion, it was better than the first Best in the Yard. It was an incredible showcase, and definitely one of the most underrated shows. Of course, the wedding was took the cake. We realized we had to open it good, and did we open it good? Oh, man. I was backstage, and I see Big Time Mike getting ready, and I'm like, Mikey, my dear, can you do me a favor? He's like, what's that? I'm like, would you do the honors of walking me down the aisle? And he said, yes, I would.
Of course he would.
And I come out in the van, and I got to really keep a low profile, because, if I unveil too quickly, show's over.
Right.
So I'm under the veil, and I have the arm, and Mike walks in, and he starts doing the slapping, and I'm like, oh my! I am hysterical laughing under the veil, and then finding out what happened at Best in the Yard 3, I'm like, so you're my father and Kevin Shaw's mother, like.
Yeah.
Kind of shit you got going on, Mike.
Right.
Oh my god! And he was getting on me for me being gay. Are you kidding me?
Right.
What the fuck is going on with you?
Mm-hmm.
At least I know what I am.
True.
Oh god, what a career!
Big Time Mike.
Oh, he's great. I mean, what we did, we were in Lowe's or Home Depot. I think it was Lowe's, and we were looking for tables and stuff, and we're just telling each other ideas. He's like, I'm gonna kiss you, and then you're gonna hit me with a kendo stick, all these ideas that we had in mind. And Mike is one of those guys that puts it all in, and every hit matters with Mike. Every hit matters with Mike. And for that, I really have in utmost respect and admiration for him. Diablo, that was a true story, fell asleep in the match. And he'll deny it, but, it's everybody knows. And even Cam was the ref, and he knew. He's like, this motherfucker's asleep. Get the crowd going. He pulled me in the middle of the match, and he's like, the motherfucker's asleep. Get going the crowd. Do something. I'm like, gotcha, dearie. I go in the crowd, and I start, freaking out everybody. Daisy is another one. I mean, this is a match we've wanted to do for so long, so it felt right. Everything felt right, and we had a lot of fun doing it. He's honestly, he is as good as I am, if not better. He is an incredible athlete, but it's more than the athleticism. It's the persona and the character. And there's never going to be anybody like Daisy.
Yeah, a lot of people that are big fans of Daisy too. So
incredible. He's very talented, and you know, we were even going to do. A lot of people don't know this. We were going to be a huge tag team, and plans fell through. But I think Revan was going to turn heel, and it was going to be a he was going to get Minister Sherwood to turn on Daisy, and it was going to turn into a tag team, and it was going to really be interesting. But plans fell through, and different things came up, but it was really good. What me and Daisy had was very special.
right.
And so that brings us to what we were just talking about. I mean, you know, as far as Best in the R2, the coffin match was something I've always wanted to be a part of. So ever since I was a kid, you know, I was a big fan of The Undertaker, you know, watching wrestling and doing the casket matches and buried alive matches. And well, I mean, still having some fun right now. And there's a lot to look back on the career of the Freak Show, and I must say that if I could change any of it, I wouldn't. Although I will say that I would go back and live all of it over again. Oh my goodness, to repeat history twice. That's fun.
A lot of people would love to do that. I'm sure. So.
Absolutely. Indeed.
All right. So let's move into the current situation that you find yourself in. And that would be with Nopin, who would debut during the Survivalist Coliseum match, and would lay you out and then kidnap you.
When you are dragged into a man's lair and you are completely helpless and you are at their mercy as they have their way with you, and your pain becomes their pleasure, it's quite a feeling. But when you're dragged into your own lair,
right,
your own lair, and made an example out of, that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
Bad enough he cost me an opportunity to face Everett Creed at Ultimate Redemption, but then he decides to take me in my own lair and torture me in ways that I still cannot describe.
Okay.
Do you have any idea what he did to me?
Yeah. What we've seen, no.
You know what the pain of this truly was?
What's that?
He could have just ended it so fast. One clean swipe. And you still see the stains. The little drops right here. Right here.
Yep.
Those red drops weren't of my face paint, I can assure you. But what really got to me was that it was slowly against the wrist. And he would move up my legs. Little pricks at a time. Slow. Very agonizing. And the worst part about it was, the saw was rusty! Do you realize what kind of diseases you would have gotten? He didn't care.
Get a lot.
He wanted to see me bleed. He wanted to beat the faggot out of me. Or maybe he just wanted to beat it out of him and hope it dies. Do you have any idea how much I hate saying that word?
I can just imagine how much you hate it.
Derogatory.
Yes.
Insulting.
Agreed.
Condescending. Making me seem less than a human being.
Right.
The words my father would tell me. And I remember him sitting me on the couch and telling me that dressing up isn't for boys. It's for little. You get my drift.
I get your drift.
To be rejected by your own father. And then to watch, knowing now that he was a father too, that punished his son for not being what he wanted him to be, just reminded me of the sick games that my dad would play with me. The sick games that Novin would play. Calling me. Whatever he chose.
Right.
Finding tools in my lair and poking at them, poking my skin, seeing if I bleed the same color as him, seeing if my insides matched his. Because he didn't think I was a man. He thought I was just a beast. He said your kind is the devil's work. Do you know why I look like this?
Do tell.
Because all I was told is that this is what I truly look like. So I decided that why not become what they make me out to be? He would give me his own form of acupuncture. Toys of mine, he would whip me like a child, whip me like a dog. But Novin made one fatal mistake. He left his heart with his hatred. He left his Tabitha with me. For how clever he was so stupid. Why would he leave dear Tabitha with me, knowing what I could possibly do?
Right.
And of course, after what he did to me, I was going to have my revenge.
That you did, and leading into it, actually you invited and did come to a dinner. And an episode of Lockdown.
The ultimate bargaining chip. To see as Novin would be figuratively all tied up at my mercy. Novin would find himself utterly offenseless. Couldn't touch me. His motivation was to get to me because he wanted me at Ultimate Redemption.
Yep.
And I told him, fine. But if you lay a hand on me before then, no dance of redemption, dearie. He had to watch as I played with his precious little doll, how I turned his Pinocchio into a real girl. Although I never understood why Novin had such a connection with the toy. It's just a doll. And yet Novin has such an obsession with that belonging.
He does. He does.
No matter. I got in his head, and I started to do exactly what he did to my body, only I did it to his mind.
It's true. It's true.
And Novin would just crumble at a dinner table as I offered him chicken, rice, and beans, and he would just, "Where's my Tabitha? Can you give me my Tabitha? Do not touch my Tabitha!" It never gets old. I let him have it, knowing what I've done, and hearing those cries would make me sleep like a baby.
Right, right.
And then I realized, no matter what Novin did to my body, he was mine.
Which in a way you would show when you two days off at Ultimate Redemption there. What a hardcore match I would say that you put on, including at one point you brought out a table and poured, what was it again? Thumbtacks, heart-shaped thumbtacks, if I remember right. Onto said table.
Yes. Pink-hearted thumbtacks.
Yes, yes.
Personal preference of mine.
But it did.
I guess it was. Guess it was a little payback.
Yes, yes.
So it was just the party where you asked me how did it feel to put Novin through a pile of tacks.
Yes, that's what I was leading into.
It felt wonderful. Because who says revenge gives you nothing? Because whoever said that is a liar. It felt so amusing and so erotic to see those little needles pierce into the flesh of Novin. More specifically, the flesh of Navon McDonald and into the very soul of Novin. And I saw Novin's matches in the past, and I saw the damage he could deal. He is a very intimidating fellow. And no one has ever gotten inside my mind, body, or soul the way he has.
Right, right.
It's almost you can say he's my soulmate. And if he didn't have such hatred for me, perhaps we could even be together.
Maybe in another
Unholy couple, but can you imagine the wedding? And we thought the Zelina Joe wedding was special. Imagine that.
Right, right. That'd be freaky. No offense.
You know what felt even more special than the tax?
What was that?
Kissing him. I heard the roar of the crowd as they witnessed me kissing Novin. And I showed them, all of them, how weak he is. And how the last emotion was my personal pet. And I could play with him like a violin and then cut his strings. And cut his strings I did.
You did.
I exposed him and I excommunicated him of his own body. I exorcised Novin out of Navon McDonald.
Yes.
And I defeated Novin with the Little Death.
You became the first and only person so far that has defeated Novin.
And yet nobody seems to understand that. Nobody gets it. Lips is the only one to have defeated Novin. Nobody else could have done such a task. The Dark Side couldn't do it. Ecstatic couldn't do it.
Cannot.
Tyler Aiken couldn't do it. Drew Hood couldn't do it. And it doesn't matter who else it's going to be, because I can assure you, no matter who Novin decides to play with, Novin will win. Whoever Novin wants to send to his netherworld, Novin will win. It could be TJ Sakara. It could be Yankee the Difference Maker. It could be Dustin Reagan. It could be Zach Daniels. Cameron Jackson, God himself, will be sent down to the netherrealm by Novin. But me. Not me. No. No, not at all. Because Novin didn't have what it took to beat me.
He didn't.
It's not that I'm the only one to have defeated Novin. As impressive as a task as that was, it's that Novin didn't have what it took to beat me.
Point.
He underestimated me, and he failed.
Now from that failure we would see at the end of Glory, or rather Thunderstruck, sorry, that you would be in the ring discussing your future in UWE, and Novin would reappear and challenge you to a buried alive match.
When he first came out, I honestly wasn't surprised. Surprised to see him so soon, yes.
Right.
But I wasn't surprised he would come for me. After all, I knew it was going to happen. I knew he was coming for me. That's why I entered the Reunion Rumble. Because if I was down in VTW, he wouldn't chase me. No worries. And I was afraid. Because I knew the inevitable was coming and I couldn't do anything about it. And Novin rose from the grave. The grave of his own exorcism. And Novin would come out and claim a buried alive match against me. That match name doesn't have much meaning to it. Buried alive. Sort of an oxymoron. A sick joke.
Yeah.
Because once you're buried alive, you're no longer breathing. You are suffocated by the dirt. You are drowned by the dampness of the soil. And your mind goes in tatters because you are 6 feet under and you can't do anything about it. The premature burial. I was very afraid for the longest time. Kept away hidden in my lair. But then I realized something.
What's that?
What no one else freaking seems to realize, Day. I've beaten him. I've beaten Novin.
Yes.
But more importantly, what I realized was that Novin has never beaten Lips.
Sure.
Novin has never beaten me. This match can be in his advantage. But as the record books would show, UWE is my queendom, and Novin is trespassing. But if Novin wants to be a part of the underground, I will put him there. He will become a permanent part of the underground, as I put him underground.
Which we did kind of see a little bit of a preview recently on UWE channel as well. As Novin made an appearance with a few druids. Yep. Little did he know that you were under one of those quotes. And then the brawl would commence between the two of you and take out the other two druids, if I remember correctly. And it would be Novin who would end up in that grave.
You know what the sad part about it all is?
What is that?
I didn't even have to assault one of his druids. I didn't even have to take one of their robes. I just kept one of my own. I just walked out there. I just walked out there. Is that how blind Novin is? Because he thinks he's that much of a leader that people are just gonna follow him? Like, Novin knows. Novin knows. Come on! I just walked out there. And he bought the meat ticket. He bought the meal ticket. Oh my goodness.
So I would say you would say it was foreshadowing of what's to come, anyways.
Of course it is. The message, really. Foreshadowing. It's a great way to put it. Only there's no shadow when you're buried alive. Shadow is a showing of light. There must be light to show a shadow. And when you are underground, covered in dirt, there will be no shadow. Only darkness. Infinite blackness. Novin wants to bury me alive. Novin wants to kill Lips once and for all, and show the world that I am nobody left. Novin wants to take my legend and kill it. And how ashamed I am. How ashamed I am of myself for almost letting Novin get into my head. Because he's not gonna kill me. I like it here. It will be Novin that burns in an infamy in the grave. Novin, I know you're watching. And the clock's ticking. And I'm gonna have my way with you. Oh yes. I'm gonna be quite forceful with you. I am going to rip you apart, put you back together and stitch you up and have my way with you all over again. And then I'm gonna put you in the ground. And it's gonna say, here lies Novin, the last emotion, as I bury him alive once and for all. Novin, may you be a half hour in heaven before the devil knows you're dead. Because this is your last rites. This is your little death. And lips will rock your world. Thank you, Tony, for having me on your precious show. But I shall promise you this. On the dawn of the freak show at Broken Glory, we will see the dusk of the last emotion. Lips will bury Novin alive, and Novin will never rest in peace. Lips will rock your world.
Well, that. I think it's fair enough to say thank you for joining me here on Tiger Talks Wrestling. And I
No. Thank you.
I'm very much so looking forward to seeing how this live match does turn about. This has been Tiger Talks Wrestling with Lip today. And I thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time.
See you next time! Novin won't.